Okay, now we are going to go through a comparative graph. Now, what is a comparative graph? A graph that compares. There is one that we call graph with a trend. A graph that shows the trends, upward trends, downward trends. That is a graph with a trend. But comparative graph is different. In comparative graph, they will give you comparison of the sales of 3 bakeries or anything like that. Now, let's take a look at this graph, please. I'm reading it from here. The graph shows data about the average Saturday sales of 2 bakeries in London in 2010. Always remember, in comparative graph, data will not move. Move means in a graph with a trend, prices from 2010 to 2020. So, there will be fluctuation, upward, downward trends and all that. But when they give you a comparative graph, in comparative graph, we will not have any data that is fluctuating, going up, coming down only. And by the way, the year will also be given like 1 year. For example, 2010. In a graph with a trend, there will be time period, 2010 to 2015. But when there is a graph, comparative graph, then there isn't anything that is increasing or decreasing. It's like that. Now, let's take a look at this, please. The graph shows data about the average Saturday sales of 2 bakeries in London in 2010. And by the way, if they write in 2010 and 2020, still it's a comparative one. Unless they write 2010 to 2020. Do you understand the difference? Time period. Like if I say 2010 as one unit and 2020 as another unit. But when I say from 2010 to 2020, that is a time period. Whenever there is the time period, we've got a graph with a trend. Okay. So, let's see. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting. Now, you can see here, we've got 2 bars. One bar is for lovely loaves and one bar is for Burnie bun. In actual IELTS test, they will give you all these charts in color. So, you can easily read, easily identify and all that. Okay, now if we take a look at this on y-axis, you can see we've got number from 0 to 160. Can you see that? 0 to 160, and that is average number of items sold. And what are those items? On x-axis you can see we have cakes, cookies, rolls, fresh loaves, toasted sandwiches, salads, crisps, and then we have donuts. By the way, which item has got number 1 sales? Donuts. Exactly. So, donuts are top of the list. After donuts, cookies. After cookies, cakes. So, that means the sweet items are more common or more popular than the other items, right? And the items like fresh loaves, toasted sandwiches, salads, they've got relatively less sale. Okay, now we go through these bullet points. First of all, you need to write an introduction to the topic of the graph in your own words. Now listen, whenever there is a comparative graph and you are supposed to write an introduction, there should be 2 sentences. Sentence number 1, you will reword this. The question rubric, we call it question rubric. You will reword it. They have written, the graph shows data about the average Saturday sales of 2 bakeries in London. So, you can just reword it. When we reword it, we use another term, reword and rearrange. Rearrange means you can talk about bakeries first and sales later, like that. This is first sentence. Second sentence says what is given on x-axis and y-axis. You will talk about that, right? Now, let's see. I just take you to page number 96, please. Page number 96. Page number 96 and first paragraph there. This bar graph compares, don't forget this word, compares so that you tell the examiner, I understand it's a comparative graph. So this bar graph compares the most popular items sold by two bakeries in London on a typical Saturday in 2010. So this first sentence is rewording of question rubric. Second sentence, the graph shows average sales of 8 items, and these 8 items are given on x-axis. Can you see that? Yeah, 8 items like bread and loaves and donuts and all that, including cakes, rolls and toasted sandwiches. Now it is not necessary that you write all 8 items one by one. Just give a reference of a couple of items. Sandwiches in Bernie's Buns and Lovely Loaves, these are the names of the bakeries. Is that clear? So this is what we call introduction. Now please come back to page number 91 again. Take a look at the graph. The bullet point. So the second bullet point is give an overview of the main ideas in the graph. This is your second paragraph. Now you are going to give an overview of the main ideas. What are the main ideas? Main ideas are, first you are going to say which bakery has more sales. First you will tell that, right? Now the bakery that has more sales, the bakery that is selling more items. So in your overview, you will talk about that. If you come back to page 96, please. Overall, it can be seen that, now you can underline this sentence and copy it whenever you write your overview. Overall, it can be seen that Bernie's Buns is generally the busiest bakery, outselling Lovely Loaves in 6 out of 8 items. Is that clear? The outselling means they are selling more in 6 out of 8 items. So this is what we are writing as overview. When you write overview, you don't need to write conclusion. Overview is sort of a conclusion. Second sentence, on the whole, savory foods such as toasted sandwiches, salads and rolls are not as popular as sweet items like cakes and cookies. Rather, you should give the reference of donuts, cakes and cookies, because donuts are number 1. So sweet items are more popular than the savory food. This is the second sentence and we call it overview. Clear? Now, after this, you will write body of the report. In the body, first you will write about the trend or the bakery which is the most important one. The bakery that's got highest sales. In donuts, you can see one bakery is selling less donuts than the other one. So the bakery that is selling more, we will write about that. Let's come back to page 96. In terms of sales at Bernie's Buns, now we are going to write about Bernie's Buns first. Donuts come top of the list. So first we will talk about donuts. Donuts come top of the list, comma, with an average of around 135 sold on a Saturday. Now you can see, go back and see, around 135 sold on a typical Saturday. Next, after this, cookies and cakes are the next best seller. These phrases, cookies and cakes, and then next best seller, with around 115 and 100 of these snacks sold respectively. And then you will talk about the next item, next item. So one full paragraph will be written about one bakery. Then they say respectively, savory foods are less popular. Bernie's Buns sell slightly more rolls than crisps, with roughly 75 and all that. Now please come to the last paragraph. Donuts are also the number 1 purchase in Lovely Loaves. Now you can see Lovely Loaves is the second bakery and donut is the number 1 item, and we are writing a comparative graph. With just over 120 sold on a Saturday. Now you can take a look and see just over. Just over means a little more than 120. On a Saturday, cookies are second after donuts. You can see they have cookies, number 2. Is that cookies or cakes? Cookies, exactly, that's right. So cookies are second at around 65 sales. Salads come next with just over 60, 3 times as many as are sold in Bernie's Buns. 3 times as many. By the way, I'll just tell you the page numbers from 91 to 100, yeah, pages 91 to 102. You must read all these pages very, very carefully, and then you will be 100% clear about the language, sentences, structure, everything. They will teach you everything on these pages, okay? So 91 to 103, right? All right, so coming back to that, we got the last few lines. Okay, then they say, as many sowed in Barney's buns, rolls and fresh loaves are joint fifth. Joint fifth means they are at number 5. With 50 sales apiece, followed by crisps at approximately 45. Least popular item in the end. Least popular item in Lovely Loaves is toasted sandwiches with around 25 sales. Is that clear? Now there are 4 paragraphs. Number 1, introduction. Number 2, overview. Number 3, you will talk about, if for example, if there are 3 bakeries or if there are 3 items, you can write 3 paragraphs. If there are 6 items, you will not write 6 paragraphs. You will just join 2 or 3 items together in one paragraph. I mean, try not to write more than 4 paragraphs. Now, if you got more data, then you can pick up some references. For example, if the data is really large, it is not necessary to cover all the data. You can just pick up some points that, okay, this is the highest, this is the second highest, this is the lowest, and you can talk about that, right? Sometimes they give you large data, and sometimes the data is really very short or to the point. Then you can elaborate everything. Like over here, we elaborated everything. We left nothing, right? So you just need to see and then decide it accordingly. So for report writing, this book is wonderful. After this book, we've got the book IELTS Journal. You can use these 2 books together. They are more than enough for writing. And by the way, if you are academic IELTS candidate and you need 7 or above in writing, then you must pay attention to good report writing as well, because report writing plus essay writing, that will bring you your desired band score, right?